The Federation patrol ship Valiant moved slowly through the Kepler asteroid field like a wounded animal trying to find shelter. Commander John Matthews stood on the bridge and looked at the screens in front of him. His uniform was dirty and torn. He had not slept properly in 3 days. Dark circles hung under his eyes like bruises. The ship had been running from Krellian forces for 3 weeks now. When they first entered this sector, his crew numbered 47 men and women. Now only 19 were left alive. The others had died in the endless battles that followed them through space, like hungry wolves chasing prey through a forest. John looked around his bridge. Each person at their station looked exhausted beyond words. Their faces were pale and drawn. Some had bandages wrapped around their arms or heads. They had given everything they had and more, but it still was not enough. Ensign Lisa Parks sat at the sensor station. She was young, maybe 24 years old, with black hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced movements even though she swayed slightly in her seat from exhaustion. Suddenly her back went rigid. Her fingers stopped moving. John saw the change instantly and his stomach tightened with fear. "Contact," Lisa called out. Her voice tried to stay calm, but John could hear the tremor underneath. Multiple hostiles emerging from the debris field. Bearing 270. John felt his jaw clench tight. He had hoped they might have a few more hours, maybe even a full day before the Corellians found them again. That hope died as he watched the sensor display light up with new contacts. 6 ships appeared on the screen. They materialized from behind the asteroids like ghosts becoming solid. These were not small patrol craft. These were Krellian destroyers, each one 3 times the size of the Valiant.
Their weapons were already powering up.
John could see the energy signatures building on his tactical display. "All hands to battle stations," John ordered. He kept his voice steady and firm, even though his heart was hammering against his ribs. "Helm, get us into that dense cluster at coordinates 448. If we are going down, we will make them work for it." Lieutenant Kevin Price was at the tactical station. He was a big man with broad shoulders and hands that looked too large for the delicate controls he operated. Those hands moved quickly now, bringing up what few weapons the Valiant had left. "Sir, we have 3 torpedoes remaining," Kevin reported. His voice was flat and professional. "Shield power is down to minimal levels. We can maybe take 2 or 3 direct hits before we are done." The Krellian ships began firing. Bright bolts of plasma energy streaked through the darkness of space. They hit asteroids and turned them into clouds of glowing fragments. The Valiant shook violently as the first impact struck their shields. John grabbed the arms of his command chair to keep from falling. Sparks flew from a control panel on the left side of the bridge. The lights flickered and then steadied. "Forward shields at 20%, called out Lieutenant Amy Rogers from the engineering station. She was a slim woman with red hair that was now plastered to her forehead with sweat. "We cannot take much more of this, Commander." John watched the tactical display as the 6 Krellian ships moved into position around them. They were forming an encirclement pattern. It was professional and efficient. The Krellian military did not make mistakes. They did not leave openings for their enemies to escape through. This was how the Krellian Empire had conquered 17 star systems in the past 10 years. They gave no mercy, they accepted no surrender. They simply destroyed everything that stood against them and moved forward to the next target. "Signal distress on all Federation channels," John said quietly. "Let our people know we fought well." Lisa's fingers moved across her console. After a moment she looked up at him. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Sir, the nearest Federation forces are 6 hours away at maximum speed. 6 hours. John almost laughed at the cruel joke of it. They would be dead in 6 minutes. Probably less. The Krellian flagship moved into position directly in front of them. It was a massive dreadnought that the Federation intelligence services called Alpha 1. John had seen the reports on this ship. Its main cannon could split a cruiser in half with a single shot. The Valiant would not even slow it down. The main cannon began to power up. John could see the energy building on his sensors. A low hum filled the bridge as the Krellian weapon charged. Everyone on the bridge knew what that sound meant. They had maybe 30 seconds left to live. John looked at each member of his crew. These people had trusted him to lead them. He had failed them. But at least they would die together, standing at their posts like true Federation officers. "It has been an honor serving with you all," John said. His voice was rough with emotion. Lisa nodded at him. Tears ran down her face, but she did not look away. Kevin straightened in his chair and placed his hand over his heart in salute. Amy smiled sadly and whispered something that might have been a prayer. The Krellian flagship's main cannon reached full charge. John could see it on the display. In seconds it would fire, and they would all be scattered atoms drifting through space. Then something impossible happened. The Krellian flagship exploded. Not from an external hit, not from any weapon that John could see. The massive ship simply tore itself apart from the inside. A series of detonations rippled through its hull from bow to stern. Sections of the ship blew outward in silence. Atmosphere vented into space in great white clouds. Debris scattered in all directions. Within 30 seconds, the mighty dreadnought was nothing but an expanding field of wreckage. "What the hell just happened?" Kevin shouted. He stared at his tactical display as if he could not believe what his sensors were telling him. Before anyone could answer, a second Krellian destroyer suffered the same fate. Internal explosions ripped through its hull. Then a third ship blew apart in the same manner. It was as if some invisible force was moving through the Krellian fleet like a ghost, destroying each ship from within. "Sir, I am detecting something strange," Lisa said. Her voice shook with confusion. "Spatial distortions near the remaining hostile ships? It looks like a cloaking field, but not any signature I have ever seen before. Nothing in our database matches it." The fourth Krellian ship tried to run. Its engines flared to full power as it attempted to escape. It did not make it far. The ship's reactor went critical, and the vessel tore itself apart in a brilliant white flash that made everyone on the bridge shield their eyes. Now only 2 Krellian ships remained. They broke formation and began firing in all directions. Their weapons struck asteroids into empty space but hit nothing else. They were shooting at an enemy they could not see. John leaned forward in his command chair. His hands gripped the armrest so tight his knuckles turned white. "Are we detecting any other Federation vessels in the area?" "Negative, sir," Lisa replied. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "We are alone out here. At least, according to our sensors, we are alone." One of the 2 remaining Krellian ships suddenly veered off course. Its engines fired erratically as if someone had taken control of them. Through the main view screen, John could see small explosions dotting the ship's hull. Each explosion was precisely placed to destroy weapon systems and engines. The ship began to tumble slowly through space, disabled but not destroyed. The last Krellian vessel tried to jump to faster than light speed. Its jump drive engaged for just a moment. Then it shut down catastrophically. Every light on the ship went dark. It drifted dead in space like a floating tomb. Then silence fell over the asteroid field. John and his crew stared at their displays. No one spoke. No one seemed able to find words for what they had just witnessed. 6 Krellian warships destroyed or disabled in less than 4 minutes by something they never saw. The silence on the bridge of the Valiant stretched on for long seconds. Everyone seemed afraid to move or speak, as if doing so might break whatever spell had just saved their lives. John Matthews finally found his voice. "Damage report. Did we take any hits during that engagement?" Amy Rogers checked her engineering console. Her hands were shaking slightly as she worked the controls. "Minor damage to the forward shields, sir. Nothing critical." "We are in the same condition we were before the Krellians attacked. How is that possible?" Kevin Price asked. He was still staring at his tactical display where the 6 Krellian ships had been marked as active threats just minutes ago. Now 5 showed as destroyed and 1 as disabled.
Someone did this
But who? Lisa Park leaned closer to her sensor screen. Her eyes narrowed as she studied the readings. "Sir, I am picking up something now. A small craft is approaching our position from the asteroid field. The signature keeps fading in and out like it is not quite there." "Can you identify it?" John asked. He stood up from his command chair and moved closer to the main view screen. "Negative, sir. It does not match anything in our database. The power readings are strange, too. They do not follow any configuration I have seen before." John felt a knot of tension form in his stomach. Whoever had just destroyed 6 Krellian warships could probably destroy the Valiant just as easily if they wanted to. "Weapon status, Kevin?" "We still have those 3 torpedoes, sir," Kevin reported. "But if that craft out there is what saved us, maybe we should hold our fire." "Agreed," John said, "but keep them ready just in case." The small craft came into view on the main screen. It shimmered and flickered like a heat mirage on a summer road. Then suddenly it was solid and real, floating in space about 200 meters from the Valiant. John had never seen a ship like it. The hull was smooth and curved with no hard angles. It looked almost organic, like something grown rather than built. There were no visible weapon ports or engine exhausts. The surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal even though the ship was not moving. "That is not Federation technology," Amy whispered. "That is not anyone's technology that I know of." A communication channel opened. A speaker crackled and then a voice came through. It was a male voice, relaxed and casual with a slight drawl that reminded John of old recordings from Earth's southern regions. Federation vessel Valiant, this is. Civilian craft Wanderer. You folks look like you could use a hand out there. John exchanged glances with his bridge crew. Lisa raised her eyebrows. Kevin shrugged. Amy just shook her head in disbelief. John pressed the communication button on his chair. Wanderer, this is Commander John Matthews of the Federation vessel Valiant. We appreciate the assistance. That was some impressive work. May I ask who we are speaking with? Name is Danny Cooper, the voice replied. I was passing through this sector when I picked up your distress signal. Figured I would lend a hand before the Krellians turned you into scrap metal. Mr. Cooper, what you did to those ships, John said carefully. I have never seen anything like it. How did you destroy them from the inside? There was a pause on the other end. Then Danny Cooper laughed. It was a warm sound, friendly and without malice. Trade secret, Commander. Let us just say I have picked up a few tricks during my travels. Are you folks able to make repairs, or do you need more help? John looked at Amy. She consulted her engineering readouts and then nodded. We can limp along, sir. The jump drive is still functional. We just need time to patch some of the damage. Wanderer, we have suffered some damage, but we can manage, John said. However, our long-range communications array is down. We have intelligence that needs to reach Federation Command as soon as possible. What kind of intelligence? Danny asked. His voice had lost some of its casual tone. John made a decision. This man, whoever he was, had just saved 19 Federation lives. He deserves some trust. The Krellians are building an invasion fleet in this sector. We have been running reconnaissance for 3 weeks. The numbers are bad, Mr. Cooper. Very bad. Another pause. How bad are we talking, Commander? 1,700 ships, maybe more. They are massing in the Vex system. Construction is ongoing at multiple shipyard facilities. The communication channel was silent for so long that John thought they might have lost the connection. Then Danny Cooper's voice came back, harder and colder than before. 1,700. That is enough to punch through to the Federation core worlds. When are they planning to launch? Our estimates put it at 3 to 4 weeks, John replied. That is why we need to warn Command. But with our communications down, we cannot send the message. I can help with that, Danny said. My ship has a quantum communication system. I can relay your message to any Federation base you name. Real-time transmission, no delay. Amy leaned over to John and whispered urgently, Sir, that is impossible. Quantum communication at that level would require power sources we do not have. The energy requirements are beyond anything we can generate. John nodded but kept his attention on the communication channel. That is a generous offer, Mr. Cooper. But before we accept, I would like to meet you face to face if possible. My crew and I owe you our lives. The least we can do is shake your hand. Fair enough, Commander. I will dock with your ship if you will allow it. Permission granted. Use docking port 3. It is on our starboard side and still functional. Understood. Wanderer out. The strange ship maneuvered closer to the Valiant with movements that seemed too smooth and fluid. It attached to the docking port without any of the usual clanging and bumping. The connection was silent and perfect. John turned to his crew. Lisa, Kevin, you are with me. Amy, you have the bridge. Keep the sensors active and watch for any more Krellian patrols. Yes, sir, Amy said. She moved to the command chair as John, Lisa, and Kevin headed for the docking port. They walked through the corridors of the damaged ship. The walls showed scorch marks and dents from the weeks of combat. Some of the lights flickered. The air smelled of burnt circuits and recycled atmosphere that had been running too long without a proper cleaning. When they reached docking port 3, John could see through the small window that the airlock was cycling. He straightened his uniform, even though it was beyond help. Lisa and Kevin stood at attention beside him. The inner door opened and a man stepped through. Danny Cooper did not look like someone who had just destroyed 6 warships single-handedly. He was average height, maybe 5'10", with a lean build that suggested he stayed in shape but was not a soldier. He had brown hair that needed cutting and stubble on his face that was maybe 3 or 4 days old. He wore a battered brown leather jacket over a simple shirt and pants. His boots were scuffed and worn, but it was his eyes that caught John's attention. They were constantly moving, taking in everything around him. They were the eyes of someone who had seen things, been places, and learned to stay alert every moment or die. Permission to come aboard, Commander, Danny said with an easy smile. He extended his hand. John gripped it firmly. The handshake was strong and confident. Granted, Mr. Cooper. Welcome to the Valiant. This is Ensign Lisa Park and Lieutenant Kevin Price. Danny shook hands with each of them. Pleased to meet you all. Sorry about the rough welcome to this sector. The Krellians have been getting aggressive out here lately. Aggressive is putting it mildly, Kevin said. They have been hunting us for 3 weeks. We lost more than half our crew. Danny's expression grew somber. I am sorry for your losses. War is hell, especially when you are outnumbered and outgunned. He looked around at the damaged corridor. Your ship took a beating. You folks did well to survive this long. We had good people, John said quietly, and we got lucky. Until today, our luck was running out fast. Luck had nothing to do with what happened out there, Lisa said. She studied Danny with open curiosity. What you did to those Krellian ships, that was skill and technology far beyond anything we have. Where did you get a ship like that? What is it? Danny's smile returned, but there was something sad behind it. That is a long story, Ensign. The short version is, I was a test pilot about 15 years ago. I was testing an experimental faster-than-light drive. Something went wrong during the jump. Very wrong. When I came out on the other side, I was not anywhere near where I started. Where did you end up? John asked. Far away, Commander. Very far away. I met some people out there. Different people. They taught me things. Showed me things. Eventually, I found my way back to this part of space. Danny looked at each of them in turn. The universe is bigger and stranger than you can imagine. There are things out there in the dark that would blow your mind. Your ship, Kevin said. The technology on it. That came from these people you met? Some of it. Some I figured out myself after they showed me the basics. Turns out human ingenuity works pretty well when you have the right tools and enough time. Danny pulled a small device from his jacket pocket. It was flat and smooth with symbols on it that John did not recognize. This is what I use to access the Krellian ship's systems. It can interface with almost any computer system remotely. Very handy for creative problem solving. Amy's voice came over John's communicator. Commander, sensors are picking up faint energy signatures at the edge of the asteroid field. Could be Krellian scouts investigating what happened to their battle group. John looked at Danny. We need to move. If they find us here, we will be right back where we started. Agreed, Danny said. Get your crew ready to jump. I will make some modifications to your ship first, though. Give you a fighting chance if you run into more trouble. What kind of modifications? John asked. Danny's smile turned into a grin. Ever heard of stealth technology, Commander? I am going to make your ship invisible. Amy Rogers did not believe in miracles. She believed in mathematics and physics and the laws that governed how the universe worked. She had studied engineering for 8 years and served on starships for another 6. She knew what was possible and what was not. So when Danny Cooper opened a panel on the wall of the Valiant's engine room and began installing devices that should not exist, Amy felt her understanding of reality begin to crack. This is impossible, she said, for what must have been the 10th time in the past hour. She watched as Danny connected a small silver box to the ship's main power grid. The box was no bigger than her fist, but the readings coming from it made no sense at all. You are creating a field that bends sensor waves around the entire hull. The energy needed for that would drain our reactor in minutes. Danny did not look up from his work. His hands moved with practiced precision as he made adjustments. Your reactor could not do it, you are right about that. But this quantum tap I just installed does not draw power from your reactor. It pulls energy directly from subspace. That is not how subspace works, Amy protested. You cannot just extract energy from it. There are fundamental laws of physics that prevent that. There are fundamental laws that you know about, Danny corrected gently. He finished connecting the device and closed the panel. The universe is a lot stranger than what they teach in Federation academies, Lieutenant. I learned that the hard way. Amy wanted to argue, but she could not dispute the evidence in front of her eyes. The device was working. The power readings were stable. Everything Danny had said would happen was happening, even though it violated everything she thought she knew. Where did you learn to do this? She asked quietly. Danny was silent for a moment. He stared at the device he had just installed, with an expression that Amy could not quite read, sadness mixed with something else, maybe longing or regret. I spent 7 years with a species called the Varath, he said finally. They exist in a region of space about 40,000 light-years from here. They have been exploring the galaxy for over 100,000 years. Compared to them, humans are children just learning to walk. He turned to look at Amy. They showed me that the laws of physics we think are absolute are really just local rules. Different regions of space have different properties. Different dimensions overlap with ours in ways we cannot see. Once you understand that, you can do things that seem impossible. You were gone for 7 years? Amy asked. But you said your accident happened 15 years ago. I spent the other 8 years trying to get back home, Danny replied. Space is big, Lieutenant. Really big. Even with Verith technology, it took me a long time to navigate back to this sector. He picked up his tools. Come on. I have more work to do on the bridge. They walked through the corridors together. The ship felt different now, Amy thought. There was a faint vibration in the walls that had not been there before. The air tasted cleaner somehow, as if the environmental systems were working better than they had in weeks. On the bridge, John Matthews was discussing their situation with Kevin and Lisa. They all turned when Danny and Amy entered. How are the modifications coming? John asked. Almost done, Danny replied. He moved to the main tactical console where Kevin sat. Mind if I borrow this for a minute, Lieutenant? Kevin stood and stepped aside. Danny sat down and his fingers flew across the controls with a speed that made even the experienced tactical officer look slow. Windows opened and closed on the screen. Code scrolled past faster than Amy could read it. What are you doing? Lisa asked. She leaned over Danny's shoulder, trying to follow what was happening. Installing an adaptive stealth system, Danny explained as he worked. It will make your ship invisible to almost every type of sensor. Electromagnetic, gravitic, thermal, even visual. From the outside, you will look like empty space. For how long? John asked. Systems like that drain power fast. Indefinitely, Danny said. As long as you do not fire weapons or use high-energy systems. Those create disruptions that the stealth field cannot compensate for. But for normal operations, travel, scanning, you can stay hidden as long as you want. He finished typing and leaned back. The main view screen flickered and changed. It now showed an external view of the Valiant from one of their own sensor drones. As they watched, the ship began to fade. Within seconds, it had vanished completely. The space where the Valiant floated now appeared empty. We are still here, Danny said. But from any external viewpoint, this volume of space is vacant. Your ship does not exist as far as the rest of the universe is concerned. Kevin sat back down at his station and ran a diagnostic. His eyes widened as he read the results. This is incredible. Even our own sensors cannot detect us when the field is active. We are completely invisible. I also upgraded your jump drive, Danny added. He pulled up a navigation chart on the screen. Your old drive could handle maybe 2 light years per jump safely. Now you can do 4, maybe 5 if you push it. And the calculations are faster. What used to take 15 minutes of computation now takes 2. How is that possible? Lisa asked. She was staring at the navigation data with an expression of complete disbelief. Better algorithms and more processing power, Danny said. He pulled out his small handheld device and held it up. I uploaded some software upgrades to your main computer. It will optimize your systems across the board. Shields will be about 40% more efficient, sensors will have better range and resolution, life support will use less power. Amy felt like she was drowning in impossible revelations. You are giving us technology that is decades ahead of anything the Federation has. Why? His expression was serious now, all traces of his earlier casual manner gone. Because in about 3 weeks, the Krellian Empire is going to launch an invasion that will kill billions of people if it succeeds. You have information that could stop that invasion. My job is to make sure you survive long enough to deliver that information. John stepped closer to Danny. You said you could relay our message to Federation Command. Why not just do that and let us go our separate ways? I will relay your message, Danny confirmed. But messages get delayed, ignored, lost in bureaucracy. You need to deliver your intelligence in person to someone who will actually act on it. Someone who will listen. He pulled up a star chart. The nearest Federation base is Outpost Tango 7. It is about 4 light years from here. With your upgraded jump drive, you can make it in 2 jumps. And then what? Kevin asked. Even if we warn them about the Krellian fleet, what is the Federation supposed to do? You said yourself there are 1,700 ships. You let me worry about the Krellian fleet, Danny said. His voice had turned cold in a way that made Amy shiver. Your job is to get to safety and make sure the right people know what is coming. You need to find Admiral Patricia Grant. She commands the 4th Fleet out of Titan Station. Tell her everything you saw in this sector. Tell her Danny Cooper says the clock is ticking. Lisa looked surprised. You know Admiral Grant? We have met, Danny said. He did not elaborate. The important thing is she will believe your report when other admirals might dismiss it. She knows how to think outside the box. She will prepare the Federation defenses, even if she has to fight her own bureaucracy to do it. You are not coming with us, John said. It was a statement, not a question. I have work to do here, Danny replied. That Krellian invasion fleet is not going to sabotage itself. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Actually, it kind of is. They just do not know it yet. Amy stepped forward. The words came out before she could stop them. Let me come with you. Your ship, your technology, I could learn so much. I could help you. Danny's expression softened. For a moment, he looked almost sad. I appreciate the offer, Lieutenant, I really do. But where I am going is dangerous. More dangerous than anything you have faced out here. Besides, the Federation needs good engineers. From what I have seen in the past few hours, you are one of the best. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small data storage chip. He placed it in Amy's hand and closed her fingers around it. This contains complete technical specifications for everything I installed on your ship. Study it. Learn from it. Improve on it, if you can. Help your people catch up to where they need to be. Amy looked down at the chip in her hand. It felt warm against her palm. This small piece of technology represented knowledge that could change everything about how the Federation built ships, generated power, traveled through space. It was worth more than she could calculate. Thank you, she whispered. Danny turned back to John. Commander Matthews, in about 6 hours, a Krellian patrol squadron is going to enter this sector. They will be investigating what happened to their battle group. You need to be long gone before they arrive. Understood, John said. We will jump to Outpost Tango 7 immediately. Good. Once you get there, transfer to a fast courier ship. Get to Titan Station and Admiral Grant as quickly as possible. You have maybe 3 weeks before the Krellians launch their invasion. Use that time wisely. What about you? John asked. What are you gonna do? Danny's smile turned dangerous. His eyes held a cold fire that Amy had not seen before. I am going to pay a visit to the Krellian shipyards at Vex Prime. They have been building that invasion fleet for 2 years now. 1,700 ships, all docked and waiting for final preparations. He paused. Would be a real shame if something went wrong with their quality control. Kevin let out a low whistle. You are going to sabotage the entire fleet? That is suicide. Even with your technology, the security around those shipyards must be massive. They will never see me coming, Danny said confidently. That is the advantage of being invisible. He moved toward the door. I should get back to my ship. You folks have a long journey ahead of you. John followed him to the docking port. Amy, Lisa, and Kevin came along as well. They stood in the corridor and watched as Danny prepared to leave. Mr. Cooper, John said, if you survive whatever you are planning, come find us. The Federation could use someone with your skills. Danny paused at the airlock door. Maybe someday, Commander. Right now I work better alone. Less complicated that way. He looked back at them one last time. Take care of each other out there. Trust your instincts. And remember that the universe is bigger and stranger than you can possibly imagine. Stay curious. Then he was through the airlock and gone. A few moments later, they felt the gentle thump of his ship detaching from the docking port. Amy rushed back to the bridge. She pulled up the external sensors just in time to see the strange craft called Wanderer shimmer and fade from view. One moment it was there, solid and real. The next moment it was gone, as if it had never existed. He is really going to attack those shipyards alone, Lisa said quietly. She stood next to Amy, staring at the empty space where Danny's ship had been. He destroyed 6 Krellian warships by himself in less than 5 minutes, Kevin pointed out. Maybe he can pull this off? John sat down in the command chair. He looked tired, but there was determination in his eyes now. Set course for Outpost Tango 7. Engage the stealth system. Let us make sure Mr. Cooper's sacrifice means something. The Valiant turned and jumped into faster-than-light travel, vanishing into the depths of space, invisible and silent as a ghost. The journey to Outpost Tango 7 took 18 hours, with 2 jumps through faster-than-light space. The Valiant moved through the darkness like a phantom ship, completely invisible to any sensors that might have been watching. The crew barely spoke during the voyage. They were exhausted from weeks of running and fighting, but more than that, they were thinking about the strange man who had saved their lives and then disappeared into the void to fight an entire empire alone. Amy Rogers spent most of the journey in her quarters studying the data chip Danny had given her. She connected it to her personal computer and began reading the files. What she found made her head spin. There were schematics for power generation systems that produced energy outputs 100 times greater than anything the Federation used. Propulsion designs that could cross the galaxy in months instead of years. weapon systems that could punch through any known shielding, medical technology that could heal injuries in hours that currently took weeks. She realized with growing wonder that Danny had given them the keys to a technological revolution. If Federation scientists could understand and implement even a fraction of what was on this chip, it would change everything about how humanity existed in space. But there was something else in the files, too. Personal logs that Danny had recorded during his years away from home. Amy knew she probably should not read them, that they were private, but her curiosity won out. One entry caught her attention. It was dated about 6 years ago. Day 2312 away from home. I have been with the Verath for 5 years now. They have taught me things that would make Federation scientists weep with joy or terror. I am not sure which. Today, I learned how to manipulate quantum fields to create localized distortions in space-time. Basically, I can now make things invisible or slip through barriers that should be solid. The Verath instructor said I have a natural talent for it. I think he was being polite. Humans are like children to them, stumbling around trying to understand concepts that they mastered before our species even existed. But they are patient teachers. They seem to actually like me, which is strange. I am just one human, lost and far from home, but they treat me with kindness and respect. Sometimes I wonder if I will ever make it back to Federation space. And if I do, will I even belong there anymore? I've seen too much, learned too much. How do you go back to being normal after you have touched the infinite? Amy felt tears forming in her eyes as she read. She tried to imagine what it must have been like for Danny, alone in a distant part of the galaxy, surrounded by aliens, learning things that no other human had ever known. The loneliness must have been crushing. She closed the file and wiped her eyes. She would study this technology and share it with the Federation. It was what Danny wanted. It was how she could honor the gift he had given them. On the bridge, John Matthews sat in the command chair and watched the stars slip past on the view screen. Lisa Park was at the sensor station, monitoring for any signs of Krellian patrols. Kevin Price remained at tactical, ready to respond to any threats. We are approaching Outpost Tango 7, Lisa reported, dropping out of faster than light in 3 minutes. Deactivate the stealth system when we arrive, John ordered. We do not want to give the base defenses a heart attack when we suddenly appear out of nowhere. 3 minutes later, the Valiant dropped back into normal space. The outpost appeared on their screens. A massive structure built into a large asteroid. It was a fortress designed to guard this region of Federation space from invasion. Dozens of ships orbited around it, ranging from small patrol craft to heavy cruisers. Outpost Tango 7, this is Federation vessel Valiant requesting immediate docking clearance, John transmitted. We are carrying priority intelligence for Fleet Command. The response came quickly. Valiant, this is Tango 7 control. We show you as missing in action for 3 weeks. Stand by for identity verification. They went through the standard security protocols, confirming their identity codes and command authorization. It took 20 minutes, but finally they received clearance to dock. As the Valiant maneuvered into one of the docking bays, John could see repair crews already assembling. The moment they locked into place, teams swarmed over the damaged hull, beginning assessments and emergency repairs. A commander from the outpost came aboard within minutes. Her name was Sharon Hill, and she wore the uniform of base operations. She was a stern-looking woman in her 50s, with gray hair cut short and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Commander Matthews, she said, shaking John's hand firmly. We thought you were dead. What happened out there? We need to speak with the base commander immediately, John said. We have critical intelligence about Krellian military operations. Lives depend on getting this information to the right people as fast as possible. Sharon's expression grew serious. Follow me. Admiral Grant is currently on station. She will want to hear this personally. John felt his heart skip. Admiral Patricia Grant is here? Now? Arrived 2 days ago for an inspection tour. Lucky timing for you. Sharon led them through the corridors of the outpost. She is in the command center. They walked through the busy station. Personnel moved with purpose in every direction. The outpost was clearly on high alert, probably because of increased Corellian activity in the region. The command center was a large room filled with displays and workstations. Dozens of officers monitored everything happening in this sector of space. At the center of it all stood Admiral Patricia Grant. She was a woman in her early 60s, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore her uniform with the crisp precision of someone who had spent 40 years in military service. Her face showed the lines and scars of those 4 decades, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent, missing nothing. She turned when Sharon brought them in. Her gaze swept over John and his officers, taking in their worn uniforms and exhausted faces. Commander Matthews, she said. Her voice was firm but not unkind. You look like you have been through hell. Yes, ma'am, John replied. We have been operating behind Krellian lines for 3 weeks. We have intelligence about their military operations that you need to hear. Give me the short version first, Grant said. Then we will go over the details. John took a breath. The Krellian Empire is massing an invasion fleet in the Vex system. Our reconnaissance counted at least 1,700 ships of various classes. Construction is still ongoing. We estimate they will be ready to launch within 3 to 4 weeks. Their target appears to be the Federation core worlds. The command center went silent. Every officer in the room had stopped what they were doing to listen. Sharon Hill's face had gone pale. Admiral Grant's expression did not change. She simply nodded slowly. 1,700 ships. That would be the largest military operation since the border wars. She gestured to a briefing room off to the side. Come with me. I want to hear everything. Every detail you can remember. For the next 3 hours, John and his officers told their story. They described the Krellian shipyards they had observed, the types of vessels being built, the patterns of patrol activity. They shared sensor logs and tactical data that Amy had managed to save despite the damage to their systems. Admiral Grant listened to it all without interrupting. She made notes on a datapad and occasionally asked clarifying questions, but mostly she just absorbed the information with the calm focus of an experienced military commander. When they finished, she sat back in her chair and was quiet for a long moment. This intelligence is solid, she said finally. It matches reports we have been receiving from other sources. The Krellians are definitely planning something big. She looked directly at John. But I notice you left something out of your report. How exactly did a damaged patrol vessel survive 3 weeks behind enemy lines and make it back here in one piece? John hesitated. He glanced at Lisa and Kevin, then back at the Admiral. We had help, ma'am. From someone unexpected. What kind of help? Grant asked. Her eyes had sharpened with interest. A civilian craft encountered us during our final engagement with Krellian forces. The pilot assisted us in escaping and provided technological upgrades to our ship. John paused. He said to tell you that Danny Cooper says the clock is ticking. Admiral Grant went very still. All the color drained from her face. For several seconds she did not move or speak. When she finally found her voice, it was barely above a whisper. Danny Cooper. You are certain that was the name he gave? Yes, ma'am. He said you would know him. Grant stood and walked to the window that looked out over the docking bays. She stared out at the stars for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was heavy with emotion. I knew Danny Cooper 15 years ago. He was the best test pilot in the fleet. Brilliant, fearless, and completely dedicated to pushing the boundaries of what was possible. She turned back to face them. His experimental ship vanished during a test flight. We searched for months but found nothing. Eventually we declared him dead. I attended his memorial service myself. He is alive, ma'am, Lisa said. We met him, spoke with him. He saved our lives. Tell me everything about this encounter, Grant ordered. Leave nothing out. So they told her about the battle in the asteroid field, about watching 6 Krellian warships destroyed by an invisible force, about Danny's strange ship and the technology he had shared with them. Amy pulled out the data chip and placed it on the table. He gave us this, Amy said. It contains specifications for all the technology he installed on our ship. He said to study it and help the Federation catch up to where we need to be. Grant picked up the chip and held it carefully, as if it were something precious and fragile. Where is he now? He said he was going to Vex Prime, John replied, to sabotage the Krellian shipyards. Alone? That is suicide. He destroyed 6 warships by himself in less than 5 minutes, ma'am. If anyone can pull this off, I think he can. Grant sat down heavily. She suddenly looked very tired. Danny always did believe he could accomplish the impossible. Usually he was right. She looked at each of them in turn. What you are telling me, if it is true, changes everything. Not just about the Krellian threat, but about what is possible in terms of technology and capabilities. It is all true, ma'am, John said firmly, every word. Grant nodded slowly. I believe you, Commander. The question now is what we do with this information. 3 weeks passed after the crew of the Valiant delivered their report to Admiral Patricia Grant. Those 3 weeks felt like 3 years to John Matthews as he waited at Titan Station, wondering if Danny Cooper had succeeded in his impossible mission or if he had died trying. The Federation military moved quickly once Admiral Grant presented the intelligence to High Command. Fleet deployments shifted across a dozen systems. Ships that had been on routine patrols were recalled and formed into defensive battle groups. Titan Station became a fortress, with hundreds of vessels gathering in preparation for the Krellian invasion that everyone now knew was coming. John and his crew had been reassigned to temporary quarters on the station while the Valiant underwent extensive repairs and analysis. Engineers swarmed over the ship, studying every modification Danny had made, trying to understand technology that seemed impossible. Amy Rogers worked with the engineering teams 18 hours a day. She had become the expert on the new systems, the only person who had actually watched Danny install them and heard his explanations. The data chip he had given her was copied and distributed to research teams across the Federation, but she kept the original with her always, like a precious treasure. On the 21st day after their arrival at Titan Station, John was in his quarters trying to sleep when his communicator chimed urgently. He grabbed it from the bedside table. "Matthews here. Commander, this is operations. Admiral Grant requests your immediate presence in the command center." Something has happened. John was dressed and running down the corridor within 2 minutes. His heart pounded in his chest. Something has happened. Those words could mean anything. Had the Krellian invasion begun? Had Danny failed? He did not know, and the uncertainty was worse than any clear answer would have been. He burst into the command center to find it filled with activity. Officers rushed between stations, voices calling out reports and updates. Admiral Grant stood at the center of it all, staring at a massive display screen that showed a sector map. "Commander Matthews," she said when she saw him. "Come look at this." John joined her at the display. The map showed the Vex system where the Krellian shipyards were located. As he watched, red icons representing Krellian vessels began blinking and changing status. "What am I looking at, ma'am?" he asked. "Reports from our deep space monitoring stations," Grant replied. Her voice was calm, but John could hear the tension underneath. About 2 hours ago, catastrophic failures began occurring at every Krellian shipyard facility in the Vex system. Reactor breaches, structural collapses, cascade system failures. Within a 6-hour window, 17 major construction facilities were completely destroyed. John felt his breath catch in his throat. 17 facilities, the entire shipyard complex. Every single one, Grant confirmed. The Krellian military communications we have intercepted are in complete chaos. They are calling it the worst industrial disaster in their history. Initial estimates put the casualty count in the hundreds of thousands. The entire invasion fleet was docked for final preparations. All 1,700 ships were destroyed or damaged beyond repair. The command center went quiet as the weight of those words settled over everyone present. 1,700 ships. The invasion force that would have killed billions. "One man did this," John said quietly. "One man with impossible technology and the will to use it." Grant nodded slowly. "It appears so. The Krellian Empire has lost its offensive capability for the foreseeable future. It will take them years to rebuild, if they even try. The political fallout alone will keep them occupied for a long time." "What about Danny?" John asked. "Do we have any indication if he survived?" "No. No sightings, no communications, nothing." Grant's expression was troubled. "He went into the heart of enemy territory, destroyed their entire military infrastructure, and vanished without a trace. We have no way of knowing if he made it out alive." John stared at the display screen, at the red icons marking destroyed facilities scattered across the Vex system. He thought about the quiet man in the battered leather jacket who had appeared out of nowhere to save them. The man who had given them technology beyond their understanding and then gone off alone to fight an empire. "He is alive," John said with certainty he could not explain. "Someone like that does not die easily." Over the following days, the political situation shifted dramatically. The Krellian Empire, reeling from the disaster, began making overtures toward peace negotiations. Without their invasion fleet, they no longer had the strength to threaten Federation space. Border skirmishes that had been ongoing for years suddenly stopped. 6 months after the destruction of the Vex shipyards, a peace treaty was signed between the Federation and the Krellian Empire. Territorial boundaries were established. Trade agreements were negotiated. The threat of total war that had hung over billions of people for so long finally lifted. John Matthews received a promotion and a new command. The Valiant was returned to him fully repaired and upgraded with as much of Danny's technology as Federation engineers could replicate. Not as advanced as what Danny had installed, but it was far beyond what the ship had been before. Amy Rogers became the head of a new research division dedicated to studying and developing the technology from Danny's data chip. She worked with the brightest scientists in the Federation, slowly unlocking secrets that would change the future of space travel and exploration. Sometimes, late at night in her lab, she would hold the original data chip and wonder about the man who had given it to her. Where was he now? What was he doing? Would they ever see him again? Lisa Park and Kevin Price both received commendations and promotions. They chose to stay with the Valiant under John's command. The crew that had survived 3 weeks behind enemy lines and witnessed miracles in the darkness had formed bonds that could not be broken. The Valiant was assigned to special reconnaissance duties, exploring the edges of known space and investigating anomalies that regular patrols could not handle. They became known throughout the fleet as the ship that had encountered the Ghost and the asteroids, the invisible guardian who saved them and then changed the course of history. 1 year after their encounter with Danny Cooper, the Valiant was conducting a survey mission in a remote sector when their sensors detected something unusual. A spatial distortion that appeared and disappeared in microseconds, similar to the signature Danny's ship had produced. John immediately ordered the ship to investigate. They followed the trail of distortions for 2 days, tracking them through empty space far from any inhabited systems. Finally, on the 3rd day, their sensors locked onto a solid contact. A small craft appeared on their view screen. Sleek and organic-looking, with hull plating that seemed to shift and flow. The Wanderer. John's heart raced as he opened a communication channel. "Civilian craft Wanderer, this is Federation vessel Valiant. It is good to see you again." For a long moment there was only static. Then a familiar voice came through the speakers, warm and casual with that slight drawl. "Valiant, this is Danny Cooper. I see you folks got some upgrades since we last met. Ship looks good." "Thanks to you," John replied. "We have been wondering what happened to you. After Vex Prime, you disappeared completely." "I have been around," Danny said, keeping an eye on things. "Making sure the peace holds. You would be surprised how many little problems can turn into big problems if no one is paying attention." "Where have you been?" Amy asked. She had rushed to the bridge when she heard Danny was in contact. "What have you been doing?" "Traveling mostly. There's a lot of galaxy out there that humans have not seen yet. I have been exploring, learning, meeting new people. The universe is full of wonders, if you know where to look." "Come aboard," John urged. "Have a meal with us. Let us thank you properly for what you did." There was a pause. "I appreciate the offer, Commander, but I should keep moving. I have a schedule to keep and places to be. Will we see you again?" Lisa asked. "Maybe," Danny replied. His voice was gentle. "The galaxy is big, but it has a way of bringing people together when they need each other. Keep doing what you are doing. Keep exploring, keep learning, keep pushing the boundaries. Humanity has a bright future ahead if you are brave enough to reach for it." "Danny," Admiral Grant's voice came over the channel. She had been patched in from Titan Station. "Thank you. You saved billions of lives. The Federation owes you a debt we can never repay." "You do not owe me anything, Patricia," Danny said softly. "I did what needed to be done. What anyone would have done if they had the ability." He paused. "Take care of yourself, all of you. And remember that you are not alone out here in the dark. There are friends watching over you, even when you cannot see them." The Wanderer began to shimmer and fade on the view screen. Within seconds it had vanished completely, as if it had never been there at all. John stood on the bridge and stared at the empty space where Danny's ship had been. Around him, his crew did the same. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Amy broke the silence. "He is out there somewhere, watching over us, making sure we are safe." "Like a guardian angel," Lisa added quietly. "Like a legend," Kevin said. "The invisible man among the asteroids. The ghost who saves those in need and then disappears back into the darkness." John nodded slowly. "Let it be known throughout the fleet. Let the story be told and retold. Danny Cooper, the wanderer who walks between the stars. The man who proved that one person with courage and conviction can change the fate of billions. The guardian who watches over humanity as we reach out into the infinite." The Valiant turned and resumed its mission, heading deeper into unexplored space. Behind them, invisible and unseen, a small craft followed for a while before changing course and vanishing into the vast darkness between the stars. Danny Cooper's legend had only begun. In the years to come, there would be other sightings, other impossible rescues, other moments when death seemed certain until an invisible hand intervened. Traders and explorers would tell stories around campfires about the ghost ship that appeared when hope was lost. Children would grow up hearing tales of the wanderer who traveled the galaxy helping those in need. And somewhere out in the endless night, Danny Cooper would continue his lonely vigil, a guardian standing between humanity and the dangers of the unknown, proof that even in the darkest hours, hope could appear from the most unexpected places. The Federation would grow and thrive, expanding ever outward into the cosmos. They would face new challenges and overcome new obstacles. They would meet alien civilizations and explore wonders beyond imagination. And through it all, they would remember the lesson that Danny Cooper had taught them. That one person, armed with courage and knowledge and the will to act, could make all the difference in the universe.